What is up? What is up? What is up? You all, you all, you all. You are now listening to and watching the Spin Award nominated and the Kentucky Urban Entertainment Award nominated Godly View, aka Soul Sisters. And at this time, without any further ado, y'all know how we always start this show off. So I don't know why y'all acting like y'all don't, but just in case y'all don't, we're gonna start it off with a little something like we're gonna start it off with a little something like this. Let's go. Hold on 1 second, y'all. Let's get this theme song going, and we will get this started for y'all. That's what wise. All right, y'all. We're gonna start it off with a little something like this. Let's go. Not sure why I can't find the theme song tonight, but look, y'all know how the theme song goes. We'll bring them up on here. I do not know where the theme song went, y'all, but we will find it by the next show.
Uh-oh.
So at this time, ladies,
Hey,
it's on y'all. Let's
Hey,
go.
hey, hey.
hey,
Hey, hold on,
hey.
I'm waiting for the theme
I
song.
know,
Okay,
right?
I was ready. I was like,
Hey,
Yes,
I'm
we're
gonna try to find
soul
it by the end of the
sisters.
show. I'm gonna try to find it by the end of the show and play it at the end. All
please,
right, y'all.
please, brother.
I
Yes.
got
I'm like, hold
y'all.
on,
I
I just
got y'all.
walked
I'll try to
You
away.
find
can't
it.
go
Hold
out
I'll
like
try
on,
to
that.
find
soul
it.
sisters, soul sisters, the
Well,
godly view.
welcome,
Hey,
welcome,
y'all.
welcome, welcome,
Hey,
welcome, everybody.
Jessica.
Hey, oh, you're looking beautiful, Jessica.
Y'all.
Thank you.
I love it.
Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to all of our viewers and to our lovely guests on today. You are watching the Godly View, aka the Soul Sisters, and we are always excited to be amongst you every other week. Coming to you on Saturdays just to kind of chime in, give some godly perspective on all the things that are going on in the world and our world, and just being able to just fellowship with each other and just shed some love and wisdom and light on this in this world. And so I'm going to introduce myself. I am Janie, the coach. I love coming, like I said, on the show with my sisters because we're always able to just delve in and give wisdom together. And so I'm going to pass it along so my other sisters can introduce themselves. We'll also have our guests till, and they'll be able to introduce themselves. But take it away, Pastor Seth.
Hey, everybody. I'm Persephone Sonia, aka Pastor Greer. I'm a gospel songwriter and producer. I am what all I do? Let me see. I'm host of the Sheer Truth with Persephone Sonia every Monday at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern. I'm also host of the Simply Self podcast that airs every Friday. I'm also the online pastor for Kingdom Culture Church that's based in Palm Bay, Florida. And I currently reside in the beautiful city of Montgomery, Alabama, with my wonderful husband, the Clifford William Greer II. And, listen, you already know if you show up, it may not be on purpose, but it's by purpose. So if you see us, stop and stay a while. Okay. We got water. We gonna do what we do. So just make sure that you hang out with us because you're gonna have a good time. This is the Godly View.
That's what I'll talk about. Come on, Pastor Greer, and start it off right. She said, hold on, let me tell you all the things that I do. I love it. I love it.
Right.
I love it. I love it. I love it. You better count the list and check it twice. I ain't mad
Grateful.
at you. So the lovely voice that you hear by your radio or by watching Facebook Live. This is Andrea Lynette Purry. I am your purpose pusher, hailing from the great state of Mississippi, where it is burning up inside and outside. I'm like, do the air work? But but let me tell you about me. I am a retired army veteran, was in the military for 18 years, and y'all, I've been retired for a whole year. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Super excited about my retirement, and guess what? I have stepped back into the corporate world in human resources as a training specialist with a company called Tower Loan. Super excited about that. Super excited about um, my civilian journey on the other side. I was in the HR world, in the military now, joining the HR world in the finance sector. So super excited super excited about that. I also have a show on Tuesday. So if you want to join us, I have my beautiful sister, Pastor Greer, will be joining us July 12th. Real Talk We Talk. It'll be on my page as well as our Real Talk We Talk page, as well as on YouTube, on our Real Talk We Talk YouTube. So super excited. It's gonna be Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if you are free, you could join us. And something that she said kind of stuck with me. She said, if you're watching us, it may have happened, happenstance, but it's on purpose. Today's show, I believe, is so intentional for where we are in our world today. So you want to stop what you're doing, and listen to these beautiful Black women. Let us tell you guys some things about where we can go as a kingdom and individually, together in our economy, in our money. All right, I'm gonna pass it over to my sister Jessica.
Love it.
Well, hey y'all, my name is Jessica. I'm your neighborhood therapist. I am a therapist here in Bowling Green, Kentucky. I'm a mom. I'm a daughter. I'm a homeowner. So those are all the things that I do. But I'm not as I don't have all the podcasts that like everybody else has, but you can catch me here, and you can catch me with Pastor Seth on the 11th. We had a good conversation. Yeah. But I'm your neighborhood therapist. I'm the one who kind of tries to throw a different spin sometimes on seeing things through where people can heal to, right? So nice to meet y'all, everybody in the podcast world. I'm glad to have you, whether you're listening live or whether you're tuning in later. I'm glad to be with you, and I'm glad to have this conversation.
Love it. I love it. I love it. Well, ladies, I know those were our hosts that just introduced ourselves, but as you all and those who are tuning in can see, we also have a couple of lovely guests with us on this show, this episode. We thank you all for being here with us. And the topic we're going to be addressing, I'm going to let them introduce themselves, but the topic that we're going to be addressing with them for our main topic on today is balancing and budgeting, the do's and don'ts. It's talking about finance, things of that sort. And like Andrea said, it's a very, very necessary topic for the times that we're in. And so I guess before we get into any hot topics, y'all know how we do, those who watch us, but let the guests introduce themselves. Jasmine, I guess you can kick it off, or actually, whichever one you want to jump in there, and then we can kind of get this show on the road.
Well, good evening, everybody, live and on the replay. It is a pleasure to be here. I love the opportunity to fellowship with these ladies. I'm really excited, and this is definitely something that I love to talk about, money. And so a little bit about myself. My name is Jasmine, and I go by The Worth Coach, where I help ambitiously motivated women discover the love of their life so they can attract the love and the life of their dreams and desires. And so with that, I also merge self-worth and financial worth together because they play on one another. So, I talk to the whole woman in that aspect. A little bit about me. My background, I am a former educator. I actually taught high school economics. So that's also where a lot of this money knowledge comes from. What else? I'm a real estate agent. I've been a licensed financial representative, sold life insurance. So I have a background in finances. And I'm also a mother, and I reside near Atlanta, Georgia. So that's a little bit about me. And I'm just happy to be here.
Love it. You can take it with Ms. Beckworth.
Hello, everybody. My name is Arvella Beckworth. I help single moms go from stuck to productive. If you are a single mom, you know how it is when it comes to getting your life in order. Sometimes you just need a little organization, budget, and time management to get your life in the right direction. By day, I am an over-the-road truck driver. I drive an 18-wheeler with my husband across the United States. And at night, I am an accountability strategist where I help single moms. And I also help young girls that are coming out of high school so they can know their worth before the world tries to tell them who they are. Another thing about me, I also have a podcast called A Second Chance at Life, where I talk to women who've been through a few obstacles and challenges, but they turn them around by getting some of the tips, the motivational interviews that I do, and just some talking about just some of the things we've been through and how we can overcome. So that's a little bit about me. I'm actually here in Colorado, and it's 100 degrees today. So,
Oh my goodness.
God bless you. God bless you.
All right.
Yes.
Well, we're excited to have you all with us on today. If you all have followed any of our previous shows, like I said, we always come together and just kick the bell and chat about everything, a little bit of everything, and try to get that godly perspective, that godly twist on what all's taking place in the world around us. And actually, it's good to hear that we have some mothers on with us. We know we have just Jessica, we have some, godly babies, we call it. But when it comes down to those who are guests, it's good to have other mothers that are going to be joining on, because one of our hot topics, we always have hot topics that we get into. We just talk about some of this trending stuff. We were in our chat, me and the ladies, and we were like, oh my God, it's a lot going on in the world. It's always something trending, But what I will say, as a shameless plug for the Godly View, is that whenever we talk about things, even though, of course, obviously, sometimes we're giving our thoughts or our personal opinions on the things, but the one thing that's very, very different and unique about this show is that we always try our best to say what God would expect. You know what I'm saying? What does the scripture say? What would please God? It's not just about our opinions. It's about a real, true, godly view of what's taking place. And so that's one thing that I do pride on with this show. And one of the trending topics, I'm sure everybody heard about it at this point, but there was a lady, I think it's going to be maybe a week or so ago now. It was a lady who had her son's father, her baby father, was bringing her son to McDonald's. Y'all heard the story, I'm sure. He was bringing his child to McDonald's. And when I tell you this story, pretty much went viral because she was recording or filming as he pulled up. And she was pretty much going off and talking about how she felt that it was inappropriate that he was bringing just her son to McDonald's because she has other children that is not his. And she felt that he should be bringing all of the children McDonald's instead of just his own child. And that little confrontation kind of went viral. And it was interesting because surprisingly, it was a pretty 50-50 from what I've seen online, 50-50 thoughts on the topic on whether or not he should have been doing it, was he was out of order or what. But I think this is definitely something we had to bring to our table to talk about it. Just go on, put our thoughts in the mix, because Lord have mercy, it's been some thoughts out there going on. And I'm glad to have, like I said, some others chiming in too, but I'm not even going to be the first one to chime in on this. Jessica, you're a therapist. You chime in on it. Let's pass the buck to you first.
Well, just from even just a parent point of view, like, I think that it is a kind gesture to bring the other kids food, but I wouldn't just pull up and bring my kid food. I'd be like, okay, hey, can I get little Johnny come out here to the car and he eat it? So that way it's not eating in front of the other kids. That's a better way to do it versus just saying, here's this for my kid and the other kids got to fend for themselves. But I understand, like, we in a recession. Like, we are here. My grandma was like, I don't think we are yet. No, millennials, we are here. Okay. And so, yeah, I understand, like, I may not have money to feed everybody in your household, but I can make sure mine's straight, but you should not isolate the other kids either. That's not okay. So if you want to do something like that, be like, hey, let me pick little Johnny up for a little bit. We're going to go riding around, or I want to take him down the block for a second and have him eat. Then that's different than just saying, here's his food, nobody else gets any. That's my take on it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Listen, I guess I'll go on a chime. I'm just gonna get my little tidbit out of the way, because I will agree with you first and foremost. But I think the thing that was the most disheartening to me, and I think you even hit on it, was when you said about the whole taking him out to the car thing. Because if I'm not mistaken, and you all can correct me if I'm right, I think the father did offer that as an option, that he can if you let his child come out to the car and then he can feed him, give him his food or whatever there. But I don't think that was maybe caught by a lot of people, because a lot of people were saying that, they were still kind of going so one-sided, or kind of the extremes of whether she was right or he was right. But I think that's where she's getting more flack at it, because she didn't even allow that, from those who are against her. How she responded is that, why you didn't let him go out with his father like he asked, but yeah, I'll agree with you, Jessica. At the end of the day, of course, the children, they never have anything to do with, the outcomes with adults, their decisions and their choices in life. And we hate to put kids in a position where because I don't know if, I'm sure many of us have, many of us, we've experienced the struggle coming up, and I don't know if anybody have ever experienced maybe, siblings being put against you and things of that sort. So sometimes kids come up in pretty, struggle situations to where you don't want them to be at odds with each other, causing the animosity, because kids don't rationalize in their mind, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and that doesn't stay for just that moment. That's something that lasts years, like on throughout their childhood.
Yes,
so you don't want to add to that. But from the godly perspective, I was on another podcast and I was listening to Clifford. He's one of our viewers sometimes. I think we had him on the show, but he had said something about having to learn how to walk in love while co-parenting. So, remembering that, like, how can I walk in love and show that even though I have one child in the home and she has others, how can I walk in love with co-parenting and also maybe try to include the other kids that may not be mine, so that they won't feel separated or that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Any other thoughts on that? I know we got some thoughts circling. I see it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jasmine. You could. Okay. I was going to say, let me tell you about a man named Alonzo Harry Hicks. This is my mother's father. He had 2 children with my great-grandmother. She had a total of 5 children. She raised 5 children. 3 of them were by her ex-husband, and then she had 2 with my great-grandfather. They also had one of their nieces, Patricia, living with them. And mind you, my grandmother and my aunt, they never saw a doctor's bill. Growing up, they never went without food. They never went without things for school, stuff like that, events and different things. And when he would bring food, he knew there was another child in the house. He would bring things for Trisha. He liked to call her Twisha, but he would, acknowledge her. But my great grandmother did not expect him to take care of Patricia. That was her. That's her one of her grandchildren, or I think one of her oldest grandchildren. And she was raising those 2 children with my great grandfather. But she did not expect him to, every time he brought something, it had to be for 3 children and not 2. So, and it's like, okay, you want a person to offer sometimes, but it gets to the point where what I sensed from that situation was a sense of entitlement. And I was mainly pressed about her attitude, because it's like the man offered a solution and she was like, no, she just wanted. And I'm like, okay, and this may come off a little harsh, but I'm gonna say it slow and nice.
Yeah, say it slow.
and if you want the benefit of a man buying stuff for all your kids, make sure that all your kids are by the same father.
Well,
or make sure that you're in a relationship with that man and that y'all have an understanding that, okay, if you're, with me and we're together, especially if you're married, of course, if you're with me, my children, come along with that. My children are a part of this family. But I'm like, ma'am, you should have thought about that before you made those children. Okay. Don't come with the attitude after the children get here. Okay. Where's the other father or fathers of these other children? Why is the guy that's showing up getting the brunt of everything? So I think she was taking out her frustration. A lot of single mothers have a lot of frustration about, especially when they're dealing with multiple fathers, they have that frustration of, okay, this one, when I call him, he doesn't answer, or he waits 3 days before he responds, but this one shows up. Well, don't badger the one that shows up.
Yeah.
Because then the child suffers, because then he's like, well, I ain't coming around no more. And then it's like, well, he's trying to do something for his child. And it's something so small. It's so small. It's a Happy Meal, or whatever kind of meal it was. It wasn't, I'm concerned about the guy feeling beaten down.
Yeah.
And of course, we don't know the full scope of their relationship or whatever happened or how they got together or how everything came about. But just from that moment, it was like, he could have just said, you know what, forget it. I just won't come around.
Yeah.
Because that's unfortunately happened in a lot of cases. And in a lot of cases where the father is not involved, a lot of times it's because he doesn't want to deal with the mother. It's not because he doesn't love his child, but it's because he knows that every time he calls, it's a problem. Every time he comes around, it's a problem. And then it gets to a point where women, we're kind of different. We can handle, not really handle, but we put up with more stress. Whereas a man, he has a limit where it's like, okay, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Why are you bringing stress to my doorstep? Or why? How come every time I communicate with you, there's stress? So that's what I got from it, was the fear that he would then be like, forget it, then I just won't show up.
Well, let me drop a little bit more tea on y'all about this little scenario, though, because you actually hit on it, sis, when you said about you not knowing the nature of the relationship. But I saw some tea being spilled on a couple of comments in some of those threads that was talking about how supposedly she felt the way she felt in relation to the situation, because supposedly, even though they're not together, they still dibble and dabble. Let's just say it like that, for lack of better words.
That makes it worse.
You know, and so that's like because you know that I know that kind of spins it and gets onto a whole nother topic that can spin into. But I will say that does muddy the waters, you know, when it comes down to maybe what her expectations might be, you know. But I'll just drop those little tidbits in there.
It makes sense. So you want to come up and lay with me, but you don't want to buy stuff for all my kids. Yeah. Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah.
I know you had to take yourself off mute.
I want to add to that just real quick, because it goes back to expectations. You know, if with what you just added, I mean, it kind of changes the ball game and the idea behind it. But she has to stand her ground. If that's something you know, feel some type of way, then maybe the conversation wasn't had. Like, look, I mean, they're not together, so it's like, if he's your man, that's one thing. And even like, I think, I can't remember who mentioned it, but you set those boundaries. Like, look, if you dating me, or you know, we're going to pursue something, you take me and my children. If, you know, it's kind of muddy, but you know, can't always taste a little bit here and then have these whole relationship expectations when y'all not committed to each other in that fashion. So
that part.
And I think for me, after I seen the video, it made me open my eyes where the conversation needs to be had with our young girls as well. They're so quick to pick these guys because what they see, if we're not setting the foundation on what to expect or what expectations to give, of course, what they see that's currently going out there, they're going to portray that as well. So we got to be able to set our girls up when they're young before even entering into sexual relationships. Do you know your father? Is he going to be something when it comes to having kids? Are you going to be able to know that when times get tough or when things get hard for you, will he stand up for you? So we definitely, I mean, it was an eye opener for me, but for me, it makes me change my conversation with the young girls. You know, please, before you get into bed with somebody, know who it is, because if they're not going to be good to you in bed, they're not going to be good to when you have some kids. So you got to be able to know what you know.
My God.
I know that's right.
Listen, they're saying some stuff right now. I love the points that you all brought out on this conversation, because of course we're all hearing the typical thoughts of just generally speaking about the whole, oh no, she right, no, he wrong, no, you know. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, you're gonna have to find common grounds at some point in time, you know. And I know Andrea, and speaking of Andrea, y'all pardon the I know we're having some technical issues with some of our sisters, but when they get on, you know, we'll put them back on, so not a problem at all. But just like I said, I know Andrea, she oftentimes mentions sometimes in these conversations, she always says, well, you know, one thing, you know, us as, you know, the God of you and as believers, it's like, you know, you got to be mindful of the people in the scenario that you're talking about, because obviously, like, I don't know their faith, the young lady in the story, or the gentleman, and I'm not sure what their faith background, if they confess Christ or to be believers or whatnot, and under the circumstances that they don't, then it's like, okay, you can't really expect such the upstanding, upright, holy approach to something else. Like you can't expect the world to be any different than the world, you know. And that's not to say that critically, you know, or in a demeaning way, but that's just the nature of the beast when you have people who are unredeemed, if that's the right word I'm looking for, or whatnot. But at the end of the day, I think you all brought out some amazing points. First and foremost, Ms. Beckworth, you said, and I'm sorry, pronounce your first name for me, sweetie, if you don't mind. Is it Arvilla? Arvilla. Okay, so I got it right. Okay, perfect. Yes, but you hit a really strong one to me, because I think that situations like this here really highlight the lack of I would like to say, I guess, mentorship or even that passing of the baton, kind of like how the scripture tells us the older women can teach the younger. You know, it's like that's so missing in this generation. That's so missing this day and time. And it shows, it shows in the relationships. It shows in some of the brokenness that we see out in the world, and sometimes, women, they govern themselves in certain ways. And it's like, you can see again where there was a lack of guidance, what I'm saying, and how to maybe properly be a mother in relationship settings and whatnot. And so, that's even a FYI for us as women, women believers and even otherwise, it's like, help give some guidance. Because I'm not going to lie, y'all, I'm sorry, I have to say it was a little disheartening for me to see all of the women that supported the downside to what she did. You know what I'm saying? Of course, we all sympathize and we all understand how it could have negatively impacted children and the outs on how to possibly do things differently. But it was disheartening to see a lot of people that were supporting her so to the extent like they didn't find anything wrong with what she did, And it's like, okay, no, yeah, we got to be accountable for where the wrong is at. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that he shouldn't put the children in harm's way to where they're getting traumatized behind the incident. But at the same token, he's handling his responsibility, you know what I'm saying? And so it's like, okay, well, we're expecting him to handle his responsibility, but the expectations on her to do the same. You had children. Where's your responsibility at? It can't be that double standard. You see that a lot in the world, where there's like those like what you said, Jasmine, the lack of expectations, not only just in a relationship setting, but just from genders, gender roles. And you've got all these expectations on the women versus all the expectations on the men. It's like, okay, now let's level this out, and you see that a lot in relationships, especially relationships that are broken. And now you're dealing with maybe a baby mother or a baby father, and just the balance of expectations on what that looks like, that healthy co-parenting, and you don't see that a lot. So those who accomplish that, that's like a rarity, and it's a prized possession. I mean, I'm not a mother myself, but I do have a couple of sisters that I've seen go through the ringer with their children's fathers, and then find, with certain ones find, that place where they're able to come to common grounds, and so, that's something to be cherished. But my Lord, let me see here. I feel like I didn't miss anybody. That what any other thoughts on this one? I know that conversation can kind of go on. All these conversations go on if you let it.
I think an unspoken thing too is the aspect of everything going viral. Mm-hmm. And when somebody thinks they're right, they like, let me grab my phone and let me record, and the risk of that is, number one, you're putting yourself in a position to be judged. And these are the main people that say, don't judge me. You're putting people in your business. And these are the main people that say, stay out of my business, mind your business, mind the business that pays you, drink your water and mind your business. These are the same people, but then they want to press record and upload. Yeah. The thought process, like, okay, you're mad. It's a situation, you're recording. Then you got to go through the process of uploading. While it's uploading, there's no thought going on that, you know what, maybe I shouldn't.
Maybe you shouldn't do this.
Maybe I should, because it doesn't upload immediately. There's a little bit of a 30%, 45%. By the time it gets to 68%, are you sure?
Pastor Greer, let me here real quick. Pastor Greer, let me say something real quick. Mm-hmm. Okay, so whenever we cover these type of topics, when people that we know that aren't establishing a godly view, we already know their mindset is not like us at all. Mm-hmm. So coming to the knowledge of, okay, this is not a person who probably has the same mind frame as me. I'm looking at this like this is a single mother, first of all, mm-hmm. who is doing the best that she know how to do. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times the best that some single mothers know how to do isn't the best when it's viewed by the scope of the world. Mm-hmm. Right? So the number one thing I see here is that there needs to be a level of bridging the gap.
That's good.
Where we can come to you as women who love God and love you and explain to you, now, do we know that this is going to work? Or do we know that it's going to, everything's going to work out, everything's going to be fine? She's going to be like, yeah, y'all come on in and help me. Do we know that that's not going to work? No, we don't know. But the thing about it is, I think that she was trying to get a point across. And as women, we know when we got a point that we want to get across, we don't care who we offend. We don't care what. I want to get what I'm trying to say across. And then as a mama bear, come on, somebody, a mama bear. We got some mothers on the line.
Yes.
As a mama bear, you like, hold on, you know, these my babies. You know, we gotta do what we gotta do for me. And then we look at it from the sense of this generation being and feeling entitled.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that we got to somehow try to eliminate with the next generation.
My
Like,
God.
we cannot have another entitled generation coming after this generation. And one of my prayer focuses, and I pray that you guys join me on this, is that we pray for the up and coming mothers and fathers,
Yes.
that they're not raising their children to be entitled, because yes, you had a lot. Now you don't have to entitle this next generation. We don't have to do that again. We don't have to see that same thing being brought over and over and over and over again. So the couple things that, just to round off everything that I said, is that we understand where she's coming from, and we understand that it may not, everything in context may not be right, but what can we do as women of God and women in Christ to bridge the gap? And shameless plug, that's one of the conversations that we'll be talking about in the women's conference, August 25th and 26th.
Love it. Whoop whoop. I love it. Look, y'all see the flyer that my beautiful Listen, she has a women's conference coming up, so stay tuned. Listen, that's gonna be amazing. We can look forward to that. Amen. There's a link there also if you want to register. We'll share it again too. And make sure we drop it on our page also for those of you all who are following us, so you can be able to tune into that, because I'm trying to tell you that's going to be a powerful event coming up. But listen, when I tell you that these topics, like what she said, it is very relevant, even in that sense of how we bridge the gap, because at the end of the day, like I was saying, even about just us as a show, period, it's always good to say what the thought is, what the opinions, but no, where's the solutions at? How we fix it? What can we do to try to make amends to this type of a situation to prevent from seeing this sort of thing take place, And I'm not going to lie, it's not an easy feat, because obviously this generation currently, it's years of, turmoil, trauma, and all kinds of stuff that's gotten us to this point, lack of parenting and just different things of sort that's gotten us to this place. But, but the prayers of the righteous with prayers and with God, all things are possible, and I'm not going to lie. Sometimes this generation seems that it can be like, oh my God, it's a lost cause. I'm just going to keep it real. But, like I said, with God, God, he's the true bridge. He's the ultimate bridge that helps to bridge these gaps, because he shows us ladies like ourselves on the show, how we can kind of be a solution and help to bring resolve to these sorts of things. And I'm going to say even further, just like Christ, there's nothing better than being the living testament and an example of what that looks like, because a lot of times that's what we see that ball dropped, is that nobody has examples to look up to as to how to do it. How do I actually effectively govern myself in this situation, because I know sometimes it's easy to speak on a thing, but there's not a lot of living examples out there. So that's why I always commend. I mean, I just really applaud when I see women that are co-parenting in a healthy setting, or when they are actually being able to drop that love and drop that wisdom and that knowledge and do it in love, because I'm not gonna lie, the old church mother, they pinch you over here, pinch you like, we don't that stir of you, that stir of you, Kyle. But nowadays I don't know if they receive those stir reviews as well. We gotta learn how to operate in love and do things gracefully on both sides. On all sides. Not even playing favorites. So it's not easy, but it's definitely possible. It's possible.
Yeah, and that kind of leads us to our main topic when we're talking about balancing and budgeting. One of the things that I have learned when I was a child was having a checkbook. Mm-hmm. And my mom, she taught me, you put all your things up at the top, you put everything right here, and then you put your balance right here. And I know, we ain't in the era of the checkbook no more. But the reason why I say it kind of goes into it is because those were things that were passed down. You know, those were good things that were passed down. And it was a lot of different things that were passed down that were good. And a lot of times we don't talk about all of those things. You know, we always talking about, you know, the negative thing, the thing that caused me trauma, the reason why I'm in therapy is because of my mama. My mama did this. But some mothers taught their children some great things. And Jasmine, I want to go to you first. So what was something that your mother taught you concerning balancing and budgeting?
Like you said, that checkbook, even to this day, my mom still uses her checkbook. And I wish I kept doing it probably till about 5 years ago. And sometimes I wish I would have maintained that. But I applaud her that, you know, she doesn't, you know, rely solely on her app to see how much her money is, because that's what a lot of us do. And even when doing that, we're relying on our app. Like, I'll be honest, I have, you know, different accounts, but my app is supposed to alert me when my balance goes a certain level, and sometimes it doesn't. And I happen to look in, but that's partially my fault, because I shouldn't allow a device or piece of technology to run my money. And so, you know, getting back to that foundation with just checking in with your money, that's something a lot of us don't do anymore. We just, look online, it's good, but there's stuff that's still brewing in that we haven't accounted for. So I really, you know, respect that she still uses that checkbook. And if it's not aligned with her balance on the app, she's calling them to find out what's going on.
Okay. Like, y'all didn't move some money, put it back.
Something ain't right.
Right.
Somebody
it reminds me of those memes to call, like, let's check our balance before we go out and do this.
Okay. So Arvilla, the same question. What is something that your mother, your father, somebody in your life taught you about balancing or budgeting?
For one thing, having cash on hand. And the reason why I say cash on hand, because we've been so dependent on debit cards. And my mom said, you know, what if you get to a point where the place you go to doesn't accept cards? Do you have some emergency cash money in your purse to use a payphone? I was like, Mom, we're going to use a payphone. She said, well, what if your cell phone is dead? You know, I'm not thinking about no quarters for the parking meter, no quarters for the phone. But, you know, she was bringing it to light that don't totally rely on this technology, because you still need to have some common sense. Cash brought us this far. We paid for things with cash. Put your money under the mattress. But you know what I'm saying? It was still back to, like Jasmine said, the foundation of keeping track of your money and not depending on technology to handle it all. Also, with cash, when you feel it come out of your hand, you're less likely to spend. Because when you get that debit card, you don't think twice about swiping it. You stick it in, pay for it, walk away. You see $1 for a bag of chips, there goes it. But if you got to take your $1 to get a bag of chips, you'll think twice about the chips. Like, I don't even need those chips, because it's cash coming out of your hand physically. So they taught me if I depend more on cash, I won't spend as much, because I feel the actual cash coming out of my hands as I purchase it. So that's what I learned.
Girl, I don't know about that cash on hand for me. It seems like I give it away more easily. I be like, are y'all
funny.
Yes.
But I do need to. My brother has always told me, he's like, Drea, you be traveling, you be going, you got to have some cash on hand. And that is something that I am going to work on. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go to the ATM after I get over here and get some cash on hand. Ladies, I want to ask one of you guys, Janine, you know, what's something that your mom taught you?
Well, you know, I won't say that it came in the space of the like you just said, the checkbooks and things of that stuff. But what I always realize is that my mom, when it comes down to just balancing the accounts, because she was that type that was unique in how she kind of governed having her accounts, and she always knew what was going on, and so she was attentive. I watched how she was attentive to her finances, you know. Yeah. And to me, even in hearing what these ladies said here, sometimes you don't see that, because like I said, sometimes when you're on your card or in cash, people are just careless. They don't pay attention.
Right.
You know, until you at the end of the day, you got more money than you got money, you know. But my mom, she kept track, you know. And it's interesting because that kind of like almost without even thought passed down automatically, because it's like you learn now to monitor everything, you know. And so
Yes.
I think that was almost like an unspoken thing that kind of automatically carried over to me, at least to me. I can't really speak for my sisters, but to myself, like I find myself doing the same thing. Like I watch everything down to the cent, you know, and not that I'm
Okay.
stingy, but I just monitor, you know. It's I
Yeah.
think it's really necessary when you come down to budgeting and just money, period, to know where your money's going, you know.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And then speaking of knowing where your money is going, Jasmine, can you tell us what is balancing? What is budgeting? What does that mean?
Great question. So I like to start with budgeting. And I think a lot of us in our culture, be 100%, either we're afraid of budgeting or we don't know how to budget. And when we don't know how, or we're afraid to, that sets us up for situations like we just talked about. We don't know where our money's going. And so budgeting is really, for me, it's planning ahead and advocating where your money's going. And that's the biggest thing when it comes to understanding or allowing you to control your money versus your money controlling you. You have to tell your money where to go. Now, balancing is, I'm not saying it's either one or right or wrong, but balancing, I feel like, is maintaining. And that's in the sense of, like we just mentioned, you know, you can use the checkbook, registry, looking online, but sometimes when we're not advocating, we're not telling our money where to go, we look up and, like she just said, we got more month than we have money. And then we're in the situation where we're repeating this cycle where our money's just going elsewhere, and we're not, like I said, we're not being proactive in what and how we're handling it. And then it just goes into a lot of different cycles. So that's what I would say is just really balancing is more maintaining, but budgeting is advocating.
Ooh, I like that. If somebody in the comments,
like
can y'all
that.
write that down? Balancing is maintaining, and budgeting is what now?
Advocating. Telling your money where to
Advocating.
go, where it needs to go.
Advocating. And when I think about an advocate, I think about someone who stands in place of, or someone who kind of stands in a gap for you. So a lot of times when we think about money, we think about, a lot of times some people, you know, they're fearful of money. You know, they go to the scripture, money is the root of all evil. But they don't go to the second part of another scripture that says money answereth all things. And whenever you're thinking about something being an advocate for you, it's actually working for you, and you're not working for it.
Exactly.
So your money should be doing more for you than you're doing for it. It should be going before you. You should be, you know, doing what it's supposed to do. You know, you're supposed to know where it's going, and it's supposed to go because you telling it where to go, and not because it's just going because, you know, going. And I love what Janice said, you know, about having more month than money, is because sometimes we might find ourselves in that position. But if we budgeting, you know, we can see that we have more money than month. So let's change that around. So I do want to ask you, I know you asked me in the beginning, what is balancing? It's like, girl, you know, when you had that checkbook, you know, you make that balance. But tell us, what is your definition of budgeting?
Just like Jasmine said, it's basically telling your money where it needs to go. And that's where I kind of bring it up to the women that I help, is that when you're a good steward of your money, you know exactly where your money has to go or what has to be paid for in that way. And when you become responsible with money, it seems like more money comes back to you. But when you're loose with it, you don't know where it's going, then of course it feels like you got that hole in your pocket, and every time you turn around, you can't find your money. So with budgeting, for me, I told them, don't look at it as a budget, look at it as money management. You know, you're managing your money. You're telling it where it needs to go. You're telling it what bill it needs to be paid. So that way, in your down the line, in your future, you have a savings account, you have a retirement fund, you can buy that new house being a single mom. So this allows you to set up long-term and short-term goals by creating the budget here and now. And that way you're setting up yourself not only a solid foundation, because once you get on a budget, you can start to pay your debt off. You can start paying bills on time. You can start building your credit. So later down the line, that habit you already created now, you're going to do when you start that business. You're going to do that when you buy that big home. So you start small so you can dream big.
like that. Love it. Love
Yes,
it.
ma'am. Yes, a good point that I mean, I'm loving everything that everybody's saying, but a good point that Andrea was bringing up is when people, when people misquote that scripture saying, that money is the problem, and the word says that the love of money is the heart condition that's being talked about in that scripture. And it's true, money does answer all things. We have bills, we have everything costs something, even if it's given to you, there's still a cost. Somebody had to pay a cost for whatever it is that you acquire. So we really have to check our heart condition, because there are a lot of people that they want to look like they have more than what they have. They want to look successful before they're actually successful. They're successful at overdoing it. They're successful at wearing out their budget. Like, a lot of times people start out with a budget and then life happens and then their emotions come into play and the psychology of it all starts. Jessica can speak on the psychology part of it, but it really gets to a point where it's like you literally have to manage your emotions as well as your money. You have to manage trauma from your childhood. Maybe you grew up and didn't have much and you had it burrowed into your mind that when I get something, I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm going to buy all the shoes. I'm going to buy all the purses. I'm going to get my nails done every week. I'm going to do this. But that's emotional. And the financial sector does not care about how you feel. They just want to see the numbers, but people focus on how they feel and not necessarily about what's going on. And then they get mad when, like Arvilla was talking about getting a house and you get mad when your credit score is a certain way. And the bank is saying either you're going to have to pay a huge amount of interest or they're not going to give you a loan at all, because they see your history. They comb through all of your financials and they see, wait a minute, seem like you like Ulta more than you like home ownership. Seem like you like going out to eat. I see a lot of restaurants here. What are you doing, ma'am? So we definitely have to think about the emotional aspect of money as well.
Yes, definitely. So in talking about what you guys both talked about, my mom taught me with checkbook too. I think we're all kind of the parents of the era of checkbooks, but I got some checks so I could pay my lawn man. My daughter said, "Oh, you old now." I was like, "What?" What? She said, "Only old folks got checks." I was like, my goodness. Okay. But moving on. But I like to reiterate what you said, kind of, Arvilla, as you said, changing your mindset. And that's a big thing. That goes with the emotions, right? So if you can change your mindset around things and how you look at it, I like this quote: when you change your mind, the things that you look at change, right? So when you check your motives and what you're wanting, then hopefully that will lead into that mindset change and your pattern will change. So I like what both of you said, but leading me into our third question now, what got both of you, can you give 5 do's when it comes to budgeting and balancing? What should we do? Like 5 main points. Whoever would like to go first.
Okay. First one, know your wants from your needs. That's one thing I think a lot of us get, like Pastor said, it's our emotions. So when we think we want something, sometimes we think it is a need. We don't need a new purse. We want the Louis Vuitton purse, but we don't need it. So we definitely got to know our wants from needs. I think that will help you a lot, because now you're establishing, emotionally what you really need. Number 2, pay off your debt. Because once you pay off your debt, you have money to save and do what you really want to do. That will go a long way. Instead of always paying somebody, being a slave to the lender, learn how to pay off your debt so you can be a blessing to others. So keep yourself out of debt. If you've never been on a budget, try to create and stick to a budget for at least to 90 days. Give yourself enough time to see your spending habits. What do you spend every month on coffee? What do you spend every month on getting your hair done? That way, by the 90th day, you should know exactly where your money's going and what you need to cut back on, so you're able to stick to a budget and know, okay, this is the money that I need, but any extra, I'm gonna either have to cut altogether or create more income. And my last one, be honest with your spending habits. I think sometimes when we don't write everything down in our checkbook, or we don't put everything down our expenses, when it comes to the end of the month and we wonder why we're overdrawn again, it's because we're not being honest about what we need to be doing with our finances. So that's 5 things that I believe we should do about budgeting.
Those were definitely some great ones. So for me, my number one is know your numbers. And when I'm talking about knowing your numbers, I'm talking about know your credit score, know your income, how much money you have bringing in, know your debt, know your balances, how much money do you have in your bank account. So definitely monitor those, balance those, check in with those frequently. Number 2, make time for budgeting and balancing your money. Sometimes we put stuff on auto pay and we don't touch it, we don't look at it, but we need to actually make time to say, okay, let me look at my finances. Let me see what this is looking like for me. What's working, what's not working, and not relying on, like we said earlier, the technology to handle everything. Number 3, check on your personal economy frequently. And so I recently did a video on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook about what a personal economy is. That's your self-worth, your financial wealth, and your time. Because all 3 of those things work together. How you feel about your money, how you feel about yourself is a reflection sometimes about how your finances are. And if you're spending a lot of time doing things and not managing your time, you can find yourself giving away your time. Your time is your money. That's where you can leverage to make more money if you need it. And so number 4, track what you're spending your money on, your budget, your balancing, track how you're feeling about just doing things. What else? Track your time. Again, I'm big on time because we waste a lot of time doing stuff. And it's nothing wrong with, social media. I'm a person that I can't do too much social media because I realize, it's been an hour I've been on Instagram. So I try to, manage that. But we have to track our time, especially just as much as we track our money. And number 5, learn and understand your relationship with your money. Is it good? Is it healthy? Or is it something that you need to work on? And sometimes we need to take that so that we can heal that relationship with our money, because that's just as important as our relationships with people we know and love.
Yeah, and something that you said, I think the number 1 was about your debt. And when you're thinking about buying a house, your DTI, your debt to income ratio, is something that is very, 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 very vital to you even being able to get a house. So they're not so much looking at where you're spending your money. They're more so looking at how much your debt to income ratio is. So they don't care if you go on altar, long as you're paying, as long as you got more coming in than you got coming out.
Yeah. And I'm honestly glad that they check on that, because a lot of us, we get that house, we got the money, but can we really afford that house? And a lot of us don't understand that, so I'm glad that they take that into a consideration when we're buying a home.
And then another thing, we go ahead.
No, I said, and just getting credit in general, that
right
ratio is accounted for.
Right. And another thing I'm glad they check on it is because sometimes if you've never looked at it, if you don't even know what it is, it's good for you to see, okay, this is how much debt I have and this is how much income I have, and it's not doing what it's supposed to do. Something lopsided. The income is down here and the debt is up here. So we need that income to go ahead and rise. And I posted something today that said multiple incomes is no longer a luxury, it's a necessity. Yes. It's definitely something that we have to have, not just in this economy, but in the 21st century. Like, you need to have more than one way that you're receiving money. Make sure if you ain't got it, talk to me after this and we'll figure you out something.
Listen, that entire part. And so, and I know we kind of get on topic. We got a couple more questions, and we gotta, kind of wrap our conversation up here and whatnot. But I know you all just covered, and I was dropping some of them in the comments. There's a lot of the dues that you all just dropped on us on things that they should do, or people we all should do when it comes down to how we just handle ourselves with our money. But another question we have are just what are some, on the flip side, what are some things that you all would say are the don'ts of how to handle things with your finances and your money? And you can share.
I'll go with the don'ts since Villa went first. Number one, don't let fear drive your relationship with money. Because a lot of times, especially I'm a single mother still to this day. I was going to say something else. Soon to be wife. I'm claiming that. But I used to allow fear to handle, dictate what I spent my money on. I wouldn't buy things for myself. I can't afford it. I would say things like that. And you got to be mindful of what you speak. And that's definitely how you speak, how you talk. That's part of the fear. If you're saying things, I can't afford it. Well, how can I afford it? Let's reframe what you're saying, because it's a possible, you can do it. Number two, take time to heal your relationship with your money. Like I mentioned in the dues, know your relationship. But if you have an unhealthy or unstable relationship with money, take time to heal from that. And there's definitely resources and ways. That's something that I definitely help my clients do. Number three, you don't have to do this alone. A lot of people, when it comes to money, it's a taboo. We don't talk about money, but you don't have to do this by yourself. There are people like myself, or Villa, these ladies on here we can help you do those things. Number four, don't hide behind your finances. And what I meant by that, especially as, like I mentioned, I'm a single mother, but a soon to be wife. When people get married, they don't talk about their finances. And that's a big thing. That's like I think the number three reason why people get divorced is because of finances. So don't hide behind your finances. Have those conversations with the right people. And number five, your finances are part of your worth, but they don't define you. We look at our finances. I don't make enough money. I don't do this. Yes, you could have the ability to change that. It's part of your net worth, but that does not mean that that doesn't define who you are as a person. So those are my 5 don'ts.
I love those. Wow, powerful.
Let's see. My first one is don't keep up with the Joneses. I think social media makes it hard enough. You start to envy other people's lifestyle because what they want you to see, and you don't realize what they're doing to keep that up. They may be in debt themselves, but they don't show you that. So you base your lifestyle off of their lifestyle. So don't keep up with other people. Live within your means. Number 2, simplify your budget by keeping a certain amount of accounts and a certain amount of cards. Why I say that, there are some people that have multiple credit cards, multiple accounts, and they don't know where their money's going or coming. So they can't really pinpoint finance charges, how much they're spending. But if you have a savings account, checking, maybe 2 checkings account, and maybe 1 emergency card, you're more than likely you will keep up with what you have. So don't overwhelm yourself by having too many. Go ahead and simplify it. Number 3, the one thing I like to remember, let my single moms know, don't forget about unexpected events like the holidays, birthdays, school shopping. I show them in January. We know Christmas is in December 25th. It never changes. So in December, start your savings in January 1st. If you got to put aside $25 a week for Christmas shopping, you find those big events that you have to pay for and give yourself enough time to make that purchase. That way you don't go into debt trying to fund a birthday gift that's going to take you 10 years to pay off. So just know exactly what unexpected expenses you have coming up. Number 3. Number 4, find a cheaper option. If you got Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Apple TV, pick one thing, if you can. I know some people, they like to have it all, but if you are in budget mode and budget crisis, you're going to have to cut back on some things, and you're going to have to live lean and mean until you can get yourself out of that situation. So if that's calling the cable company to lower your cable bill, if that's calling the insurance company to see if they can rerun the numbers and see if you can come out with a cheaper price, but at least be active about what you can control. And that might be cheaper alternatives. You can't buy Heinz ketchup all the time. You might got to buy Great Value for a little bit, until you get some stuff together. But the whole thing about budgeting is it's meant to be temporary. It's a temporary fix to kind of get you on the right level, because once you start to budget and you pay off your debt and you get things in order, you will have more money than you can handle, but you want to be in the mind frame to handle that money when it comes to it. And last but not least, this might not be a biggie for some. When you do your budget, don't base it on your gross income. Do it on what you take home. A lot of people that I've ran into say I make $40,000 a year, but when they actually look at their budget, they're only making about 29. They don't take out the health insurance and the taxes. So you got to be able to make sure that you're budgeting what you actually bring home and don't have a false pretense of what you have out there. So just know, like Jasmine said, know what money you got coming in, know where your credit score is, know all that. Basically, know where your money is the ultimate goal behind budgeting. Each month, you're going to have different type of scenario. And until you put in fact that budgeting is going to work for me, whether I like it or not, this is something that I'm committed to do for the next 90 days. So I can get myself out of a situation that, right now it's uncomfortable, but we'll get there. We'll get on the other side of that, but you'll be glad you did, because you'll create a lot of new habits that will push you further in the future.
Well, hold on. Can we get back? You had lost me. You said somebody gross was 40,000 and it went down to 29,000. What a minute.
Well, that was child support, and that was other stuff. They didn't count the child support they was paying along with taxes and insurance. They didn't realize that. They just thought they made a certain amount, and they could never figure out where their money was going.
Wow.
Yeesh. That's where your feelings come into play. That's where your feelings get hurt.
Right. You gotta know what you're bringing in.
They told me I was supposed to get this much. Yes.
I do have one simple question, and you all may know something right off the top of your head, or maybe not. I'm not sure, but I'm not sure. I'm sure. Well, then again, maybe you all have seen this at some places or whatnot. I know I see it all the time in the business space. But do you all have a recommended approach to budgeting that you all recommend, or do you kind of customize an individual? When I say approach, I know sometimes when you see budgets set, sometimes they say this amount, a percentage of your income should be allocated to this. This percentage of income should be allocated towards that. Like, do you all break your budgeting approach down in that way, or do you all kind of customize it to people that you kind of work with?
I customize because everyone's a little bit different. Some people can do a zero-based budget where they budget and everything equals down to zero. Some like the 50, 20, 30 rule. I guess it depends on how somebody's going to receive money and what helps them. Because for someone, budgeting may be overwhelming, where taking an Excel spreadsheet and just doing it, the numbers line by line could be overwhelming. So when I talk to my clients, I get a kind of feel on what they're comfortable with, because you're more likely to complete something when you're comfortable with it. If I give you something on what I do, you may not like it and may stop doing it. So I kind of ask those questions in advance. What helps them? Because everybody's finances are going to be different. So it's not a one set budget. It's what budget can we find that will work for you?
I agree. Everything isn't always for everybody. So we have to, talk to them and see. And then also, are they willing to make that sacrifice? Because meeting people, people will say to us, I want to change this. I need to save money. But at the end of the day, it's their mindset. They're not really ready for it. So if you're not ready for it, then we're going to have to do it little by little to get you to that point where you can maybe set up something like a 50, 30, 20. So it's case by case.
So now what's the 50, 30, 20?
Let's say break it down, huh?
50%. So 50% is your needs. 30, if I'm be honest, I don't use the 50, 30. I use my own resources that I've created. 30 is wants, 20 is savings. And the 20 can be allocated towards investments, savings, like 10 to investment savings, and then 10 to like your savings account. So it just depends. But some people do 80-20, it can 60-40. So it's different variations. It's case by case. But I like the 50-30 because, I mean, one thing about all of this, and I think a lot of people, when it comes to budgeting, they feel like I have to restrict myself, you know,
Right.
and I think a lot of us as millennials are moving away from, not all of us, but moving away from the Dave Ramsey way that you got to eat ramen noodles every day until you get out of debt. Because I'm an advocate, like, we still need to live our life, because if we're living this life where we're penny pinching and we can't live, that's going to be daunting and we're going to want to give up. And so I think that, we have to still have something where we can get those things, but we need to do it in moderation, and just to answer make a comment of what Arvilla said about the great value. I'm all for great value. Even, I don't care, I can be a multimillionaire, I'm still going to get the great value. That used to be my nickname. And so, because a lot of people don't realize a lot of these things that are what we consider off-brand is the same thing. It's private label. They just changed the picture. So get that $2.99 ketchup versus that $4.69 ketchup. So ain't nothing wrong with it.
And I like to pick you off, Jasmine, regarding not to be too strict. Think of like your diet. When you're on a strict diet, after a while you get burnt out and you don't want to do the diet. I'm guilty because I know I'll sneak a piece of cake because I'm trying to be strict to it. But when I don't give myself that leeway or a little buffer, then I quit altogether. So I tell people, create an account or an account that's like fun money. If you're not going to be on a budget, just set $100 aside that you can use for your money. Let everything else be paid, but keep something for you that you don't get discouraged and you can get some of the things you want, the coffee, maybe a night at a restaurant, but don't limit yourself to where you're too strict that you're squeezing yourself out of doing the budget altogether.
That's good. That's good. And I want to highlight on something that Jasmine said also in one of your points. You mentioned about this, you're not on this journey alone. I know sometimes, like I think one of you all said, sometimes finances and budgeting and things of this sort can be like that thing to get your heart pumped, like, oh God, for some people that's not their thing. But I think that just like we always teach in the mental health space, therapy and getting the help, we have got to break down these walls of not getting help and wanting to just, just do everything by yourself. If finances and money is not your thing, or that's not your specialty, it's not even anything that's some people look at that like a critical thing, like, oh, you so frivolous with your money, you ain't got your money together. Like, don't look at it as a bad thing to make you fearful of getting help. If that's not your thing, because money is not everybody's strong point, strong suit. And if it's not your strong suit and you're struggling in that area, that's why you have people like a Jasmine or like a Ms. Beckworth or others that can assist you in creating these budgets, in knowing how to structure things, how to get a system in place, or just how to generally manage your money, And so I definitely wanted to highlight that when she said, Jasmine, about the fact you're not in this alone. Get help if you need it. It's no shame in that at all. No shame in that at all. So let's see here. I think we had. I know we're a little bit over our time. And I don't know. Did we miss any questions, ladies, that you all wanted to tap on, or I don't know if we.
Let's let Pastor Greer ask one more question.
Okay. I have one question. And this is more of the personal conviction part of why you do what you do. What is your reason why? Was it a series of events or the way you've experienced things in life, or was it just one pivotal moment that you're like, I got to get into finance? What was your experience with why you chose to get into money management?
I'm sorry, I was trying to find the mute button. For me, it was being a single mom. I think that really changed my trajectory on money in general, because when I became a single mom, I was in my 20s. So the first 2 years, it was like I was in college. So I was getting all the credit cards from the school. When you first go to college, everybody's there to give you a free credit card and you end up with 10 and you don't know how you got 10, but that's where I was. And then I got pregnant during college. So that really changed my money situation, because now it's like, it's not just me and these credit cards. It's now, me and my daughter. So I really had to change things around and start thinking from a parental view than a single person view. So once I kind of had some rough patches with being a single mom, you don't have enough money because the other partner's not there and you're struggling to make ends meet. I had to get jobs where when I try to get assistance from the government that said I made too much. And I'm thinking $14 is making too much. And so they're like, you can't get any help. So that caused me to get a second job. Then I'm way over the boundary, but I'm still not making enough. So I'm like, somewhere I got to stop letting this money bleed out of my pocket, because I got into the point of payday loans. I got stuck in those, and it kind of got me in a bad cycle. I had enough just to pay the finance fee, and the next week they wanted the whole thing. So that threw my money off. And that's what I said, you know what? I can't keep going through this every week trying to pay these people this money. By the stove, umpteen times, it was like, it's time to get your money together. It really is. So that was my passion now, to start helping single moms see that there will be rough patches. You will have times where money's not going to be right, that child support won't come in, that job's going to do you dirty. But you got to be able to set a foundation for you and your family that no matter what happens, you are able to take care of what you have and what you got by the skills that you build for yourself. And I tell them all, if you're not a believer of God, there might be one way you want to start, having some faith somewhere when things get tough. Have a place where you on your knees pray when there is no way. Plus, after being a single mom, I kind of got once my daughter finally moved out a year ago, she's 25 now, but I got overly zealous with my money because I'm like, I don't have no kids here. So then I got myself in another trap of spending too much money. So I had to reel myself back in, and that's what I'm doing now. So it's nice to kind of be on side with my clients, because I'm really trying to start back over and get myself back together. So now I'm coming from a true testament of what a budget is and what I'm doing, so I can show them exactly that I'm not just saying it because it's nice to say, I'm actually living it right now. So that's why I do it.
So I'm going to piggyback real quick off of what Arvella just said. And I think I want us to be transparent. Yes, we talk about finances, but that doesn't mean that we still don't have our own challenges with finances. And my story, I felt like Arvella was telling my story, because that's exactly what my story was. Single mother, got pregnant in college. So we share the same story. And that's part of what came to me. But the biggest thing that really took that shift, I didn't realize that was my blessing when I was going through it at the time, because that became my testimony for my journey and my purpose, was that the Great Recession. Let me call it that, because we've had some since then. The Great Recession. I was broke with 2 kids, unemployed, credit score 5-something, lost my car. So that was my story. And while I was going through that, I just remember asking God, why am I going through this? I did what I was supposed to. I went to college. I had a master's degree. Why am I going through this story or this journey? But God had bigger plans for me. And so ironically, after I went through that, I became an economics teacher. And I'm like, I didn't go to school for economics. So even with that, I had to teach myself a lot. So everything that I share with my clients and people, on social media is stuff that I've gone through myself. It's my journey. It's my purpose. And I don't regret any of the financial decisions, good or bad, that I've made, because it's helping me be a resource to others. And that's really bottom line. What I want to do is I just want to share the wealth, share the knowledge, share the experience, and share the resources to those who are willing to receive it.
Amen. Y'all, can y'all put your hands together in the little comment section? When I tell you, this has been an amazing conversation, and I know y'all got some questions in the comments. So I want you, if you can, post your questions in the comments. Jasmine and Arvella probably will be down there looking at those questions, and they'll be answering you guys. So I can't say thank you enough just for coming on here with us. 2 of my favorite money managers. And one thing that I do love about them is their transparency. And every time I go to Arvella's page, every time I go to Jasmine's page, it may not be all about money, but it's always about worth. It's always about understanding your worth. And when you understand your worth, like Jasmine always says, you'll understand that you are your biggest asset. You are your biggest asset. You're your biggest money maker. You're your biggest advocate. You the one. Hey, you the one, girl. Okay. But Y'all be getting a little carried away. Y'all excuse me. But we do have our producer on, and I know we do want you guys to give you guys social. So where can we contact you? Where can we, see more from you? What's your favorite platform? Like, which one do you be on?
For me, I'm mainly on Instagram, trying to learn TikTok. I haven't quite got it there yet, but I'm trying to learn TikTok, but mainly Instagram, and it's under my name, Arvilla_Beckworth. I do have my website, first name, last name, and my podcast is A Second Chance at Life. So you can find me under those names, under those platforms.
Love it. So you can find me on all social media, Facebook, not Twitter. I have a Twitter, but it's nothing there. Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. My go-to platform is Instagram, like Arvilla. I'm learning TikTok. I'm proud of myself with TikTok. I'm doing a little bit of some things on TikTok.
Come on, traction.
Yes. So you can find me on there. My website is it's The Worth Coach on all things social. My website is www.theworthcoach.com. And I failed to mention also, I do have a podcast, and I'm going to launch again my next season, possibly in September. So, but if you haven't tapped in, you can definitely check out the past episode. It's called Worth, Wealth, Wisdom, and Wine. And so I'm coming back after I get my kids off to school. And I would love to have you ladies on the podcast. So I will be in touch.
Yes, we would love to be on there. And next week, I want to give y'all a little quick, not next week, but the week after, it's going to be July 19th, 2022, July 22nd. We're going to be coming back, and we're going to be doing a little bit more on this money topic. And we're going to have our very own, the one, Coach Lamb. When I tell y'all, this lady with money is a beast.
Man.
Y'all better come back. I know she did a little bit. She didn't show y'all what she got yet, but she has been on a few of my shows. She has been a part of my conference last year. And when I tell y'all, last year she got on my conference, and I think she almost had her own conference because she laid that thing out. I was like, you better. So she's gonna have her own segment August 26th. So y'all gonna see a preview on the 22nd, and then we'll have a little bit more on the 26th. So y'all come ready on the 22nd. Y'all be ready. We may not be able to do hot topics because this lady right here.
Andrea, you are too funny. I'm sorry, y'all. She got me rolling over here.
All right, James, we're passing it over to you. I'm sorry.
Look, our sister ain't lying. Next week after next, we might not be able to do hot topics because I already know she's gonna drop some fire on us. We have been having a great discussion. I have enjoyed it to the utmost. I have enjoyed sitting back and listening to this discussion. I definitely learned some things, and I hope you all did too. Now, I did find the music video for the theme song, but because it took me so long to find it, I want to give y'all a little commercial break real quick, and then we'll be right back with the theme song.
Hello. We have been nominated. Yes, we, the Godly View, has been nominated for the Spin Awards. So go to spinawards.com/vote and vote for Podcaster of the Year as well as Podcast of the Year. When you see the Podcaster, you're going to click the Godly View Crew. The Godly View Crew. And then when you see the podcast, you're going to click the Godly View. Thank you for your vote. Thank you in advance. Let's do this.
Yes.
Hold on.
Hey everyone, it's Jessica Renee, your neighborhood therapist. I'm coming today because I am trying to solicit your help. I need you to go to thespinawards.com/vote and vote for the podcast of the year, the Godly View Crew, and Real Talk Monday. If you could, I'd much appreciate it. Thank you.
So y'all, we appreciate y'all. We love y'all, and we cannot wait to have y'all back. Y'all will definitely be back on here. We promise y'all that. This will not be the last time. But as we close out, we're just gonna close out with a little something like this, and y'all can catch this episode on podcast tomorrow at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Love y'all. Peace.
Yeah, we're soul sisters.